The scanner beeped once, then again, and then, it stopped. A sharp, uncomfortable silence filled the checkout line. The cashier's hand froze midair as she stared at the screen, her expression tightening. The woman standing in front of her shifted nervously, one hand resting protectively over her visibly pregnant belly. "I'm sorry," the cashier said, her voice suddenly louder than necessary. "Your card was declined." The words cut through the store like a blade. Heads turned, people watched, some curious, some judgmental, some already assuming. The pregnant woman's face drained of color. "No, that's not possible," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Can you try again, please?" The cashier sighed, clearly annoyed, and tapped the screen again. Beep. Declined. This time, louder. Final. A man behind her scoffed. "Typical," he muttered. "Buying things you can't afford." A few people chuckled quietly. The woman's fingers tightened around the edge of the counter. Her breathing became shallow, unsteady. Have you ever felt the weight of everyone's eyes on you, judging you without knowing your story? Because in that moment, she felt it all. I have money," she said quickly, panic creeping into her voice. Maybe the system." "Ma'am," the cashier interrupted, her tone colder now, "if you don't have another form of payment, you'll need to step aside. You're holding up the line." The words weren't just dismissive. They were humiliating. The woman looked down at her groceries, basic things. Milk, bread, baby items, nothing extra, nothing unnecessary, just survival. Her eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back quickly. Because crying here would make it worse, always worse. Behind her, the line shifted impatiently. Whispers grew louder. "Why do people even come if they can't pay? So embarrassing, she shouldn't be shopping if she's broke." Each word landed like a blow. Invisible, but painful. Her hand moved instinctively to her stomach again, as if protecting not just her baby, but her dignity. Have you ever wanted to disappear, just to escape a moment? Because that's exactly what she felt. "I'll just put some things back," she said quietly, reaching for the bag. Her fingers shook. The cashier rolled her eyes slightly. "Make it quick." That's when a voice spoke, calm, low, but impossible to ignore. "No." The word cut through everything. The whispers stopped. The cashier looked up, confused, and slowly, a man stepped forward from the line. Tall, well-dressed, composed, not rushed, not emotional, but something about his presence commanded attention. Ethan Carter, a man known in boardrooms, respected in business, but right now, none of that mattered, because what he had just seen was something he couldn't ignore. He walked closer, stopping beside the woman. She looked at him, confused, her eyes still wet with unshed tears. "You don't need to put anything back," he said. Her brows furrowed. I don't know you," she replied softly. Ethan nodded. "I know." Then he turned to the cashier. "Ring everything up." The cashier blinked. "I already did. The payment," I said. Ethan interrupted gently but firmly, "Ring everything up." The tone wasn't loud, but it carried weight, the kind that doesn't need volume. The cashier hesitated, then quickly scanned everything again. Beep, beep, beep. The total appeared. Ethan took out his card. No hesitation, no pause. He tapped. Approved. Just like that, silence filled the space again. But this time, it was different, heavier, deeper, because something had shifted. The woman stood there, stunned. I can't let you do that," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan looked at her, really looked at her, not at her situation, not at her struggle, but at her. "You're not letting me," he said quietly. "I'm choosing to." The words hit differently, because they carried something rare. Respect, not pity, not sympathy, something stronger. The woman's lips trembled slightly. "Why?" she asked. Ethan paused, and for a moment, his expression changed. Something deeper surfaced, something personal. "Because no one should be treated like that," he said. Simple, but powerful. Have you ever witnessed a moment where kindness feels louder than cruelty? Because this was that moment. But Ethan wasn't done, not even close. He turned slowly, looking at the people in line. The same ones who had whispered, laughed, judged. His gaze wasn't angry, but it was sharp. "You see someone struggling," he said calmly, "and instead of helping, you humiliate them." No one answered, because suddenly, their words felt small, ugly, exposed. The man who had mocked her earlier looked away. Ashamed, Ethan stepped closer. "You don't know her story," he continued. "But you were ready to decide who she is." Silence, heavy, uncomfortable. necessary. Then he turned back to the woman. What's your name? He asked gently. Emily, she replied. Ethan nodded. I'm Ethan. A small pause. Then, let me walk you out. Emily hesitated, but something in his tone felt safe, so she nodded. Slowly, they walked toward the exit together. The automatic doors opened, cool air rushed in, and for the first time, Emily felt like she could breathe again, but her mind was still racing. Thank you, she said quietly as they stepped outside. Ethan nodded slightly, but he was watching her carefully, because something about her story didn't feel complete. Have you ever met someone and felt like there was more they weren't saying? Because that's what this was. Do you have someone at home? He asked. Emily hesitated, then shook her head. Not anymore. The answer was simple, but it carried weight. Loss, loneliness, something broken. Ethan's expression darkened slightly. And the baby? He asked gently. Emily placed her hand on her stomach again. A protective instinct. A few weeks left, she said. Her voice softer now, more vulnerable. Ethan looked at her for a long moment. Then, he made a decision. The kind that changes everything. Let me help you, he said. Emily frowned slightly. You already did. Ethan shook his head. That was just the beginning. The words lingered in the air. Because they meant something bigger. Something neither of them fully understood yet. But one thing was certain. This moment at the checkout was not the end. It was the start of something neither of them expected. And what happened next would shock everyone even more. The parking lot felt quieter than it should have. Cars moved in the distance, doors shut, carts rolled, but around them, it was as if the world had slowed down, giving space to something fragile that was just beginning to unfold. Emily stood still, her hand resting over her stomach, her eyes searching Ethan's face as if trying to understand him. Why are you doing this? She asked again, her voice softer now, but deeper, more real. Not just curiosity, fear, because when life has hurt you enough, even kindness feels suspicious. Have you ever reached a point where help feels harder to accept than pain? Ethan didn't answer immediately. He looked at her, not past her, not through her, but at her. And then, slowly, he said, because I know what it's like to lose everything, and have no one stand beside you. The words didn't sound like something rehearsed. They sounded lived. Emily's expression shifted slightly. What happened to you? She asked. Ethan exhaled quietly, his gaze drifting for a second, as if looking at something far behind him. There was a time, he said, when I had nothing. No money, no support, just survival. Pause. I remember standing in a place like that store, he continued, being judged, dismissed, like I didn't matter. Emily swallowed, because she knew that feeling too well. And someone helped you? She asked. Ethan nodded. Just once, he said. But it was enough. The wind brushed past them gently, carrying a strange stillness. Emily looked down at the grocery bags in her hands. Then back at him. And now you're returning it. Ethan gave a small, almost distant smile. Something like that. Silence settled between them again. But this time, it wasn't uncomfortable. It was understanding. Ethan glanced toward her car, or what she had. An old vehicle parked near the corner, slightly rusted, barely holding itself together. Is that yours? He asked. Emily nodded. It gets me where I need to go, she said. A simple answer, but it carried pride, strength. Ethan respected that. Where are you heading? He asked. Home, she replied. Then let me follow you, he said. Emily blinked. What? I just want to make sure you get there safely. She hesitated. Again, that instinct, that hesitation built from too many disappointments. But something about him still felt different, so she nodded. Okay. The drive was quiet. Ethan followed her car at a distance. Not too close, not intrusive, just present, like a quiet promise. When they reached her apartment building, Ethan stepped out again. The building looked tired, old paint peeling, windows worn, a place people passed by without noticing. But inside, was a life fighting to survive. Emily turned toward him. You don't have to come up, she said. Ethan nodded. I know, but he didn't leave, because something told him, this wasn't over. Not yet. Emily opened the door slowly. The inside was small, bare, but clean, carefully maintained with whatever she had. She placed the groceries down. And for a moment, she just stood there, as if holding everything together had finally become too heavy. Her shoulders dropped slightly, her breathing changed, and before she could stop it, a tear slipped down her cheek. Then another. She quickly turned away, embarrassed. I'm sorry, she whispered. Ethan stepped inside gently, closing the door behind him. You don't have to apologize, he said. Her voice cracked. I didn't think it would be like this, she said. I thought I had everything planned. Have you ever planned your life so carefully, only to watch it fall apart anyway? Ethan didn't interrupt. He let her speak. Because sometimes, people don't need advice. They need release. My husband left when he found out about the baby, she said, her voice shaking. Said he wasn't ready, said I was a mistake. The words hung in the air. Painful, raw. I lost my job a few weeks later, she continued. Medical bills, rent, everything just. She stopped, because saying it out loud made it real in a way she wasn't ready for. Ethan's jaw tightened slightly, not in anger, but in understanding, because he had seen this before. Felt it, lived it. You're not a mistake, he said quietly. Emily shook her head, wiping her tears. It doesn't feel that way. Ethan stepped closer, his voice firm now. Feelings lie sometimes, he said. But reality doesn't. She looked at him, confused. What do you mean? I mean you're still standing, he said. You're still fighting. You didn't give up. A pause, and that matters more than anything. The words settled into her. Slowly, gently, like something she needed, but didn't know how to accept. Have you ever needed someone to remind you of your own strength? Because that's what this was. Ethan took a breath, then said something that would change everything. Let me help you properly. Emily froze. No, she said quickly.